She gave him food every day, even when she had none for herself. She thought he was just a crippled beggar until one day he looked her in the eye and said, "I'm a billionaire, and I've been watching you." But that was only the beginning of Esther's journey. 1 year after opening Esther's place, the name had spread beyond Lagos. Customers traveled hours just to eat there, not just for the food, but for the story behind it. Every plate served came with a legacy of kindness. Her story had been featured on TV. Radio stations talked about her transformation. Even government officials dined there. Yet Esther remained humble, still greeting visitors with a warm smile, as if she were serving them on her wooden bench under the tree. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the gold light poured into her office window, Esther sat quietly looking through an old photo album. Tucked between the pages was a faded picture of her old shop. The planks, the smoke-stained pots, the spot where Papa J used to sit. She closed her eyes and whispered, "May I never forget." Just then a knock on the door startled her. "Come in," she said. It was her assistant. "Madam, there's a young girl downstairs. She says she needs to talk to you. Her name is Ada." Esther stood up. "Ada." She walked down the stairs and saw a frail girl, skinny barefoot, holding a basket of boiled groundnuts. "Good evening, Ma," Ada said, her voice trembling. I heard about you. I sell at the market. Sometimes people throw away my nuts. They insult me, but I just wanted to say thank you." Esther tilted her head, confused. "Thank you for what?" Ada reached into her basket and pulled out a small wrapped leaf. "You helped my brother 2 weeks ago. You gave him food near the flyover bridge. He came back crying. Not because of the food, but because someone looked at him like a human being." Tears welled in Esther's eyes. She knelt down and hugged the girl gently. "You are welcome here always," she said. And that's when an idea bloomed. That night, Esther sat with her staff and said, "What if we create a special place? Not just to give food, but to train them. To teach young boys and girls how to cook, how to serve, how to dream." Her chef clapped. Her waiters nodded. Everyone agreed. And so 6 months later, the Esther Foundation for Food and Hope was born. It wasn't just a kitchen. It was a school. Young people from the streets came in with empty hands and walked out with skills, with dignity, and sometimes with a job at one of Esther's restaurants. One of them, a boy named Kalichi, later became her head chef. He was once homeless, sleeping behind market stalls. Now he wore a crisp white coat and trained others with pride. One afternoon, while walking through the training center, Esther paused and looked at a wall where a large photo of Chief George was framed. A brass plate underneath read, "The man who saw beyond dust and rags and gave the world a queen of kindness." She smiled. "Thank you, Papa J," she whispered. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from a news station in South Africa requesting an interview. She declined politely. Her time, she believed, was better spent on the streets. One rainy morning, Esther stepped out with her umbrella and joined her team under the bridge. As she handed warm plates of food to those shivering in the cold, a woman grabbed her hand. "Are you the Esther?" she asked with wide eyes. Esther nodded. The woman began to cry. "You helped my son last year. He's in university now because of your kindness. We never forgot. I prayed to see you one day, and now here you are." Esther's heart swelled with quiet joy. "We all need someone to believe in us," she said. She returned to the van and wrote a note in her journal. "Kindness has wings. It lands in places we may never see." And indeed it did. From dusty roads in Lagos to fancy dining rooms across the country, her name became a symbol not of wealth, but of what happens when compassion meets purpose. In time, Esther launched more food centers. Not chains, not franchises, missions. Every location bore the same values: feed with dignity, teach with love, and uplift with humility. Her legacy grew, but she never forgot the plate of beans and yam she gave away that day. That single act had built an empire. And when asked by a reporter what her secret was, she smiled and replied, "I didn't build anything. I only gave what I had, and kindness did the rest." Weeks passed, and Esther's Foundation grew in ways she never imagined. Not just in size, but in soul. One day a letter arrived from a small town far from Lagos. It was written in neat handwriting, sealed in a blue envelope. Esther sat at her desk and opened it carefully. "Dear Madam Esther, I am the principal of St. Mary's Community School. Our children often come to school hungry. I heard about your story, and I'm writing not to ask for food, but for hope. Just a visit. Just your voice. Some of our girls are beginning to give up on dreaming. Maybe if they saw you, they'd believe again. Sincerely, Mrs. Ijoma. Esther held the letter close to her chest. She remembered what it felt like to sit hungry, to lose hope, and still smile. I will go, she said. She didn't take a camera crew, no social media posts, just her, a driver, and a heart full of love. When she arrived, the school was quiet. Walls with peeling paint, classrooms with broken windows. Children sat on wooden benches, scribbling in worn-out notebooks. Esther stepped in. The teacher paused. The children looked up. Their eyes widened. "You're the one from TV," a boy shouted. Esther laughed softly. "Yes. But more than that, I'm someone who used to sell food by the roadside with worn slippers and no parents." She told them her story, not the fairy tale version, but the truth. The hunger, the loneliness, the kindness that changed everything. At the end, one little girl stood and asked, "Can I be like you?" Esther walked to her, knelt down, and looked into her eyes. "You can be greater." That visit became a turning point. Letters started coming in from orphanages, small villages, and even prisons. They didn't ask for food. They asked for something deeper. Inspiration. Proof. A reason to believe. And so Esther began what she called the Kindness Tour. Every 2 months, she visited places forgotten by the world. She brought her story. Her team brought notebooks, food, and clean uniforms. They listened. They laughed. They cried. But in every place she reminded people, you don't need millions to change a life. Sometimes just one plate of food, given with love, is enough. Her words became a flame. Young people started forming kindness clubs, naming them after her. They didn't have much, but they gave what they could. Sharing pencils, cleaning the streets, visiting the sick. One evening, as Esther stood on the rooftop of her restaurant watching the sunset, her assistant came to her with news. "Madam, the governor's office called. They want to name a street after you." Esther smiled gently. "Tell them, thank you, but I'd rather they plant a kindness tree on every corner of the city." And they did. Across Lagos and beyond, small trees were planted with signs beneath, in honor of Esther, proof that one act of kindness can change the world. One day, an old man came to her foundation holding a walking stick. His legs shook slightly. He wore a faded shirt, but his eyes were sharp. "I have been looking for you," he said. Esther stood and extended her hand. "Can I help you?" The man sat slowly. "My name is Elijah. Many years ago, I was the driver of Chief George." Esther's eyes widened. He continued. "Before he passed, he told me something. He said, if Esther ever forgets why she started, give her this." He reached into his coat and brought out a small wooden box. Esther took it with trembling fingers. She opened it. Inside was a simple note. "Esther, kindness brought you here. Never trade it for comfort. The poor are not beneath you, they are beside you. Always. Chief George." Her eyes welled with tears. "He's gone," she whispered. Elijah nodded, peacefully. "But he watched everything you did." He died smiling. That night, Esther sat alone in her office. No lights, just the soft moon glow on her face. She whispered, "Thank you, Papa J. You changed me, so I could change others." In the years that followed, Esther opened more food centers across West Africa. She trained over 10,000 youths. Her food truck charity expanded to other countries. Newspapers called her the mother of street hearts, but she never liked titles. She said, "I'm just a girl who gave one plate of food to someone the world ignored." Every birthday, she returned to the tree where her old shop once stood. Nothing remained but roots and soil. She would sit there barefoot and hand out food to anyone who passed by. People would stop and stare. "Is that Esther? She's giving out food herself." And she would smile. Yes, just like old times. One quiet evening, Esther stood in front of a large mirror in her home. Not to admire herself, but to remember. She looked at her reflection and whispered, "I still see her." The girl in patched clothes with a pot of rice waiting for a beggar. Nobody else saw. She smiled, then turned away. In her bedroom was a small shelf. On it were two things: a faded photograph of Papa J in his wheelchair and the first plate she had ever served him. She never used it again. It was cracked, worn, and priceless. She believed one simple truth. Kindness is not what you give, it's who you become. And for the rest of her life, Esther became a river of kindness that flowed into every broken place. So now let me ask you, what would you have done? If a beggar showed up at your door every day, would you have looked away? Would you have ignored him? Or would you have offered what little you had without expecting anything in return? Because sometimes the one you're feeding is not just a beggar. Sometimes he's watching, listening, testing the world not to find riches but to find hearts. And when you give with love when no one is looking, when you expect nothing back, that's when the universe takes note. And one day, like Esther, you might turn around and hear someone say, "I'm not a beggar, I'm a billionaire." And you? You just passed the greatest test of all. Call to action. What did this story teach you? Has kindness ever returned to you in ways you didn't expect? Please share your story in the comments. Your words might inspire someone else. And if this video moved your heart, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe to Tim's Stories, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story that might just change your life. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And never forget, sometimes one plate of food is all it takes to feed a miracle.